Good morning, my lovelies, and welcome to day 4 of our Sinclair Lotte sew along. Today we'll be sewing the hood or the cowl. I opted for the cowl neckline finish. Let me start by apologizing for the rain in the background. If you can hear it, I'm not sure. It feels like it's raining in my room right now. It's a huge downpour right now, like a monsoon. It's crazy how much rain there is, but hopefully you don't hear it. But if you do, my apologies. I can't control the weather. So start by grabbing your front cowl piece. I've decided to go with the waffle for the front. I fused 2 square pieces of woven interfacing on the back of it, two 2-inch square pieces of woven interfacing. Then I'm going to cut 2 pieces of vinyl that I want to add to the front, and then I'll put the grommet. So I was thinking initially I wanted to do some cork, like black cork. Then I said, why not go ahead and use some Backstitch Prints vinyl and maybe do one of these little images. I don't know. So I'm thinking of doing a 1.5 by 1.5 piece. Let's see if I'm centering it correctly. I want this cupcake. So I'm trying to see if I can center the image for the cupcake to be 1.5. I mean, I could do 2 inches. I could. And this is my 1.5 marking. Let's see. Because I'm trying to center the image. Because why not have a cupcake, right? Maybe I'll do 1.75. I don't want to cut off any of the cupcake. Oh, I think I got it in 1.5. Okay. So 1.5 by 1.5, my square. It's okay. Alright, so this is going to be one of my square for the grommets. This super cute cupcake in Backstitch vinyl. And let's see, what are we doing for the second one? Do we want to do macaroons, or do we want to do a Donald cupcake? This could work. Let's do the Donald cupcake. Or the Dole Whip. No, let's do the Donald cupcake. This way they're sort of symmetrical. Sort of. So I'm using my front, one of my pieces. And this is another use for our Backstitch vinyls. Gorgeous. Look how cute. A Donald and a Mickey cupcake. Okay, so now I'm taking a little bit of double-sided tape, or you could use, if you have not Wonder tape, what do you call that? Oh, I'm sleeping on the name. It's called heat bond. It's called heat bond. That was the word I was looking for. Okay, so I'll do this like so. This double-sided tape is in testing at Wizardry, and I absolutely loved it for vinyl for bags. So I figured why not use it here as well, since it will help me attach and keep this attached. Or you could use Wonder Tape if you have it, like the water-soluble Wonder Tape. So one is ready. Let me get the other one ready, and then I need to make the marking for where I want the grommet to go. So I'm folding it so I have the center, and the pattern suggests 1 inch from the top and 1 inch from the bottom. So I'm using my grid here as a marking, which means they suggest to put the grommet right here. Again, it's a suggestion, whatever you want. I'm just going to place my vinyl right here. You don't want it too high, because you want to be able to stitch the top edge. So leave it at least a ½ inch from the top. Oh, this is not straight. Why is it not straight? So I'm gonna do the corner, like 1 inch down on each side, and do it like this. Okay, so then flip on the other side, and I'll do the same thing. Now I can actually feel it with my hands where it is, where my vinyl is. So I'm going to try to be as symmetrical as I can possibly get it. So let me open it up. Oh, it's a little too to the left. Okay, so now those are glued together. You can take this to the, you should take this to your sewing machine. Let me move Mickey a little, Donald a little bit. I feel like he wasn't straight. Okay, so this is how it looks like. Now you want to stitch around with your sewing machine all around the piece, and then we're going to put a hole for the grommet in the center. I'm using my biggest hole puncher. I don't know if it's going to be enough, but we shall see. So I'm trying to center it as best as I can. Again, you'll have better results if you measure and mark and do all the good stuff. I am not one to do all that. I needed my little snips. So let's see. So there you have it. See, you have your hole for the grommet right here. So we're going to do the same thing on the Donald cupcake, and we'll put a hole for the grommet in the center. I am eyeballing the center, so if you want to do it correctly, don't eyeball it, measure it. Okay. So having all this interfacing and all this vinyl will prevent the grommet from snagging off I'm using these grommets I got on Amazon. Very inexpensive. Since I'm using a lot of blue, I'll pick a blue, a medium blue. It looks like it might need a little bit more. And there. So I put my grommet in, and I'm looking for the back. I'm adding the back of the grommet. Okay. Pushing it in. I'm trying to make sure that the fabric doesn't show through the hole. Okay. And now with my tool, hand tool, I'm putting the grommet in. Just press. I'll make sure I put the right side. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. And then we'll go back to the serger. Okay, blue. Is that my, yeah, that's the biggest punch hole, so I need a millimeter extra. It looks like it. You could put some fray check here if you want. So I put my grommet in, like so. Okay, grommet in, and then I'm putting the back, which is like this little disc that goes on the back. And because we have the vinyl and the interfacing, we shouldn't have any problems with the fabric tearing. Okay. Nope, I don't like how it looks. So I'm gonna use that tool that came with it and redo them. It's a little hammer tool. I am not a fan of the handheld ones, let me tell you. Let's use the hammer one. I was trying to spare you the noise, but I guess I won't. If I have to put up with it, you have to put up with it. So I place my backing of the grommet. And I'm getting the board. Okay. There's this bottom piece that comes with the set. Okay, you put that down, put your grommet through the hole there, and there is the bottom. Come on. There's the little tool here that has a hole, and you put that hole through that stick, and then you smack it on top. That's why I'm not a fan of the handheld ones. They don't do a good job. Use the hammer option. So once you smacked it, it looks perfect on both sides. So let me see if I can smack this one, because I wasn't a fan of how it looked with the handheld one. Much better. So once again, this is how it looks on the front. And my apologies for the noise. And this is what it looks like on the back. So now I'm gonna go ahead and stitch all around the vinyl part. And I'll see you back in a few minutes at the serger so we can create the cowl and add it to the hoodie. Alright, we are back at the serger. Let's go ahead and start stitching the cord first. So for that, you can just leave it raw. Use your cord and use the cotton lycra ability to roll on its own in your advantage. So just snag it a little bit and it's basically a roll. You can leave it like this or you can serge it, and I'll show you how I do the cord, a new method to turn, new for me method to turn the cord. Take your serger and stitch a long tail. Okay, so now bring that tail. I did not invent this method. I saw somebody using it and I figured I'll show you guys too. And bring it inside and keep your raw edges together, the serger tail away from it, and we're going to start stitching the raw edges together, right sides together of that cord. And you keep your tail inside. Make sure you don't stitch it, okay? But you do want to stitch right sides together. Again, this is if you want a cord with no raw edge. But if you don't care, definitely keep the cord as just rolled. I'm not stitching this thread that's in my hand. So you can see how I'm doing the cord. Right sides together, and this is the tail that's in between. And now, because the tail is not as long as the cord, it starts pulling in, like right here, and that's fine. That's what you want. Or of course you can use your favorite turning tool to stitch. You can pin in place these right sides together, whatever is easier for you. May not be the fastest method, but because the tube is so thin, it might be the easiest one to turn. Pre-made cord if you want to skip all these steps, like parachute cord. I get my parachute cord from Walmart and it's super easy. Almost there. And as long as I didn't catch that serger tail, it should be good to turn. See? I keep my tail right here, and these right sides together. I wanted to show you this method, but again, if I were to do this not for the sew along, I would just leave it raw, honestly. So we've made it to the end, and now all we have to do is pull on the serger thread that we've sewn through this loop. And gently, all the way. That's, I just want to cut that end so you can see the tail. This is the serger tail we left, and I'm just holding on to it and pulling, and boom, I made it to the other side. Easy peasy, no tools needed. No turning tools needed. So this is the tail that I had left before, and now I can just cut it off. Boom! Turned. Just by using your serger. How easy was that? Okay. Let's go ahead and stitch the main and lining of your cowl, right sides together along the top. With a 1/4 inch seam allowance. If you want to put a few pins in place, you could, especially if your fabric tends to roll. If you're doing the hood option, oh, it has some notches here, so you can use those notches to match them. If you're doing the hood option, once you've done your grommets as per the pattern, sew the back of the hood on both the lining and the main. And then place them right sides together and sew the front opening. Now it should look something like this. you want to flip it, and if you want, you can understitch the seam allowance towards the lining. So this is the lining. You want to stitch the seam allowance down here, and I can do that on my serger, on my cover stitch. So I'm stitching the seam allowance towards the lining. Make sure that you use a zigzag stitch or a lightning bolt stitch. So this is what it looks like from the outside. Oh, this rainbow thread is awesome. And from the right side, there should be nothing on the front. Okay, that's what understitching is, where you stitch the seam allowance towards the lining but not towards the main. This is opposed to top stitching. Okay, so now you want to stitch these two together, right sides together. Actually, you want to put the cord first. No. No, first you stitch these right sides together. So let's go back a little bit towards the serger. Okay, and we're going to stitch along this side with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Beautiful. So now you have your opening for the cord. I like to put my cord now instead of putting it through afterwards. So I'm just pushing my cord through the two openings. And I'll pull as much as I can on the outside without ruffling. So I don't want it too tight here. I'd rather have it a little bit more loose. So this is what's gonna look like from the inside. Okay, with the cord already in. So now I'm flipping the lining. This way they are wrong sides together. And I'm going to put a couple of pins on the bottom raw edge, just to keep it in place. And then we'll create the casing, making sure that we don't sew the cord in the casing. You could create the casing for the cord without putting it like I did right now, but then you'll have to put it through with a pin or something. I wanted to skip that step. So I'm matching the two notches of the lining and the main. Very important that you have your pattern markings on your pattern at all times. They help you tremendously when you sew. Okay, so this is the part that will be attached to the hood neckline in the next step. But first let's create the casing. Okay, so I'm going to work from the right side, and I have my cord. I want to feel that the cord is all the way to the edge here. to make sure that I don't stitch it when I do the casing. Okay, good. So this is upside down, the hood. You can see the cord there. So now you want to go ahead and stitch all around the top, about an inch, no, about 2.5 inches down from the edge. It might help you if you put like a marking, like a line, whatever is easier for you. I'm feeling for the cord to make sure it stays where it's supposed to stay. Okay, so now you want to do a casing line all around. Trying to make sure that I'm keeping the cord away, but I'm also so let's say about 3 inches down, 2.5 inches down. Let's do 2.5 inches down from the edge, the casing. And I am honestly eyeballing it, because I could draw a line, I could do it better than this, but it's my hood. What you want to make sure that here your edge is properly aligned. So pretty. So all we have left to do today is to attach the cowl to, or the hood, depending on what you created, to attach it to the neck opening. Look how beautiful it's inside with this rainbow thread. And to finish the raw edges of this, you can put a charm if you want, or I just tie a knot, and I'll probably add one of the charms when I get my pre-order from Backstitch prints. I can add the charm to the end here. For now it's just 2 knots, so it doesn't come out hopefully in the wash through the grommets. Alright, let's grab the hoodie. And you have a center notch here let's find the center of the back as well. It's this one. So we're going to match the right sides together, the back center to the back of the to the seam of the cowl. And then on the front we'll do the same thing. Let me find the front. Okay, so this is my front. I will match this to the notch on the front, and then I'll pin all around using the pins that I've used before to align the raw edges. So now you will have 3 layers to sew through. One is the shirt and 2 for the cowl. If you're doing the and the notch on the sides will match the side seam, the shoulder seam. If you've done the hood, there is an overlap notch, so make sure that you follow that when you overlap the 2 fronts of the hood. So last step of the day is to stitch this down with 1/4 inch seam allowance all around, and optionally you can top stitch it. Make sure you catch all the layers. Gorgeous. So the cowl is stitched on. Like I said, you can top stitch it if you want all the way around. Snap a picture of your hood or cowl, add it to your shirt, and post it in the day 4 comments of the Sew Along album in the Backstitch Backroom on Facebook. And I'll see you back here tomorrow when we'll be creating and adding the cuffs and the bottom band, and of course showing off our new Lotte hoodies. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye!